The whole HOA president stood right on my dock, clipboard gripped like it was a sword, ordering me to rip out the dock I built with my own hands. Within 48 hours, like she owned the whole damn lake she was glaring at. I almost laughed, but there was nothing funny about it, you know? Just imagine, 7 in the morning, Tuesday, mist curling off the water, air sharp and pine-scented, sun barely up, and me out there with my coffee, thinking I'd get a minute of peace. That dock wasn't just wood and bolts. It was the last promise I ever made to my wife, Sarah, before cancer took her. Then come the sharp, staccato clicks of high heels on wet planks. And there she is, Brenda Thornfield, marching toward me like a woman on a mission, hair immaculate, jaw set, perfume loud enough to choke a squirrel. She barely says good morning. She just waves a stack of papers in my face, tells me I've got 48 hours to remove the illegal structure or the HOA will initiate property seizure. And just like that, my coffee tastes bitter and the air feels heavy. That dock was Sarah's dream, the last project we'd sketched together between chemo appointments, her way of making sure I had a reason to keep going when she was gone. So, yeah, Brenda had no clue. She thought she could bully me off my own dock, on my own lake, a lake I legally owned, every inch of the water under her angry little stare. "Ma'am," I said, real quiet, "you might want to recheck your property lines." You should have seen her face. But let me back up a sec. Let me give you the whole picture. My name's Garrett Morrison. 2 years ago, after 3 decades as a civil engineer, I bought this lakeside place to patch up a broken heart, hoping for peace. Instead, I wound up in the longest, weirdest, and most ridiculous battle of my life, with a woman who'd turn a bake sale into a corporate hostile takeover. See, when Sarah passed, she left me with a single instruction. "You're too stubborn to let some lake beat you, Garrett. Build the dock." So I did. 6 months of sweat, paperwork, county permits, the whole deal. Every bolt in that dock was tightened to spec. County inspector even called it art. I'd stand there in the mornings, toes on the cedar planks, coffee in hand, talking to Sarah's ghost, feeling her in the sunlight on the water. Then Brenda and her husband Rick, Thornfield Construction, purveyors of plastic and overpriced mediocrity, move in, and suddenly everything's about property values and community standards. Within months, Brenda sweet-talks her way into the HOA presidency, ousts the old-timers who just wanted to fish in peace, and starts cranking out rules like she's running Fort Knox. First order of business: all docks must be standardized and, wouldn't you know it, built by Thornfield Construction. My handcrafted dock? Industrial monstrosity, she called it. I showed her the permits, the engineering diagrams, the signatures. She looked at me like I'd just handed her a crayon drawing. "Permits don't override community standards, Mr. Morrison." Then comes the fine, $500 a day for noncompliance, and a lien on my house if I don't get rid of the eyesore. The smell of diesel from Rick's truck hung in the air, mixing with the synthetic fog of Brenda's perfume. That night, I sat on my outlawed dock, listening to the water lap against the pilings, loon calling out in the distance, and I swear I heard Sarah's voice, her favorite line. "When bullies mess with engineers, they always regret it." Yeah, time to prove her right. Next morning, I'm at the county records office, cup of gas station coffee in hand, brain running full tilt. Dolores Martinez is behind the counter. She's been the queen of county records since the Reagan years, sharper than a tack, memory like a steel trap. I tell her my story. Her eyes light up. "Riparian rights," she whispers. "Turns out, my property deed isn't just a sheet of paper, it's a golden ticket." My great-uncle Theodore, a flood control engineer back in 1923, had convinced the county to let him dam the creek that became Millbrook Lake. The deal? He kept perpetual water management rights. I don't just own the dock. I own the water, right down to the high water mark. I roll back to the neighborhood feeling like I'd discovered oil. Brenda hadn't just overstepped. She had zero legal power over anything I did on that lake. So I show up to the emergency HOA board meeting. 15 neighbors, 1 burned coffee machine, and Brenda at the front with a PowerPoint titled "The Dock Crisis." She brought her brother-in-law, some lawyer in a $1,000 suit who looked bored out of his mind. Brenda starts flipping through photos of sketchy docks, none of them mine, warning that my non-compliant structure will drag property values into the gutter. The lawyer drones about covenants and regulations. That's when I stand up, hand over the original deed, and drop the bombshell. My property includes water management rights dating to 1923. The HOA has zero jurisdiction. Dead silence. Then, like out of a movie, Margaret Morgan, retired real estate attorney from down the block, pipes up. Actually, riparian rights almost always predate HOA formation. They're enforceable no matter what the HOA says. Brenda's face went red as a fire truck. "This is absurd," she shrieked. "No one can hold the whole community hostage." "Ma'am, I'm just defending my rights. The same way you would." A couple board members apologized. Brenda doubled down, vowing to hire real lawyers and prove my documents were forged. Margaret caught me outside, said, if they didn't check for pre-existing water rights when they set up the HOA, the whole thing could collapse like a cheap deck. I drove home under the stars, half exhilarated, half exhausted. But Brenda came at me even harder. Glossy flyers, emergency meetings, her lawyer posturing about fabricated records. I went back to Dolores for the full paper trail, maps, contracts, ledgers. The deeper we dug, the wilder it got. Turns out, Theodore hadn't just created a lake. He'd built an entire flood control system spanning 3 townships, and the county's been depositing annual water management fees into a trust fund for decades. Balance: $847,000, just sitting there. Margaret showed up at my kitchen table that night, reading glasses perched on her nose, legal pads everywhere. "Your great-uncle basically set up a private utility. The HOA never had water rights." I asked what happens if an HOA's been acting outside its limits for years. She grinned. "If they've been charging fees and issuing permits they can't back up, their whole foundation could go under." Next community meeting, I stand up with Theodore's contracts and the county's ledgers. "Mrs. Thornfield, did the HOA ever obtain water rights when it was incorporated?" Silence. Then sputtering. Then her lawyer suddenly fascinated by his briefcase. The board got real uneasy. I pressed. "These records are public, filed with the county. Want to see the payment ledgers?" The room buzzed with whispers. Brenda's face, for the first time, cracked. 2 days later, my dock was wrecked, smashed boards, diesel fumes, Rick's boat bobbing out on the lake, engine idling. He yelled something about mechanical failure. "Sure, Rick. And the Easter Bunny borrowed your boat." What they didn't know is I'd already installed cameras. My insurance guy and Detective Collins from County Water Patrol reviewed the footage. My buddy Tom, a marine mechanic, confirmed the throttle was deliberately jammed. This wasn't an accident. By Friday, Rick was in cuffs, charged with criminal mischief, insurance fraud, destruction of protected property. The neighborhood buzzed like a kicked beehive. But it wasn't over. As we dug through the HOA's paperwork, Margaret found the smoking gun. When they incorporated, they never checked for existing water rights. Everything Brenda had enforced for 15 years was, in legal terms, a joke. All those fines, permits, fees, worthless. Like a restaurant running without a health permit. But worse. Patricia, my new water rights attorney, laid it out. "You could shut down half the county's water before breakfast, but we'll use restraint. Fix what they broke, show leadership, let Brenda implode under her own weight." Our strategy: go public with the truth, offer solutions, watch Brenda collapse. And collapse she did. Her last stand? A neighborhood press conference, blaming me for her husband's arrest, calling me a fraud, and accusing the FBI of helping me steal the lake. The county attorney, the state inspector, and even the EPA lined up to confirm my rights. Brenda's face when the county official read the verdict: legit water management authority, every dock authentic, HOA operated illegally, was something I'll never forget. Rick's now in federal prison. Brenda? She sold her house, vanished, probably terrorizing some other zip code. Margaret took over as HOA president, issued a public apology, and set up the Millbrook Watershed Conservation Trust with Theodore's old fund, upgraded the flood system, built the Sarah Morrison Memorial Environmental Center right where my dock once stood. Kids fish and learn about clean water where Sarah wanted her bench. Property values rose, businesses boomed, and the community became a model for how private rights and public benefit can actually work together when you have a little integrity and a lot of stubbornness. Even the national news picked it up. My favorite? The look on my neighbor Jake's face when his new ethical construction company landed a wait list 6 months long, proving that honest work never goes out of style. Most mornings now, I sit on that dock, Sarah's dock, coffee in hand, water calm, egrets gliding across the sunrise, and I tell her how her last dream built something bigger than both of us. Ordinary people, standing up to extraordinary bullies, refusing to back down when it matters. That's what built this place. That's what keeps it safe. And here's my challenge to you. Before you let some clipboard warrior bully you, check your deed, know your rights, and never underestimate what a little paperwork, patience, and backbone can do. Share your own wild HOA stories in the comments. Let's build a library of knowledge so the next person faced with a Brenda knows exactly how to fight back. Was I right to stand my ground? Could you have handled it better? What would you have done with $1 million trust and a neighborhood full of chaos? Drop your take below, because justice, like water, flows where it's needed most. And sometimes the only way to fix things is to build something that lasts.